from the outside generally, it may appear that the Tory party is marching in lockstep with Boris Johnson. If you've ever seen, marching displays and, everyone is literally synced timely to perfection, where they are all literally just doing that literally to perfection, not a fault, everyone's in lockstep, that generally appears from the outside how the Tory party seems to be. Everything appears to be hunky-dory. However, as we've been saying for the past couple of weeks, there have been some very interesting movements, not only from, shall we say, within the party itself, but from outside the party as well. Stuff that could very well, shall we say, that Johnson was pretty much almost the prime suspect for much of, shall we say, Theresa May's premiership and the trouble with her own Conservative Party at the time. Boris Johnson is about to find out, I suspect, what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. And I think this is going to come very quickly, very fast. And I think that the more we return to normal, the more, of course, as MPs return to Parliament, as a lot of people have said during this time, MPs like to plot in person. So the fact that they've been, shall we say, outside of Parliament, been unable to meet within Parliament and talk within the halls of Westminster, has been somewhat of a detriment, shall we say. But as they have now started to slowly but surely return to Parliament, there is now that question of, is plotting going afoot? Or shall we say, is plotting going ahead? And is there a plot, shall we say, to unseat Johnson? But before we do get into that, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And now on with this. So, as we said at the beginning, from an outside looking in, the party appears together. It appears coordinated. It appears to be working together. Boris Johnson won a somewhat very tremendous victory for them in 2019. At the local elections, not so much. Of course, he won Hartlepool, which was very, very muchly celebrated by his northern MPs as them saying, haha, see, not only are we going to hold the Red Wall, we can win even more seats up here in the north. And then, of course, Chesham and Amersham happened, which then led to huge ripples in the Tory party, because this to them was meant to be a safe seat. And of course, they lost it to the Lib Dems. And not only that, something else which has surprisingly gone unreported was that a local council round there also went to the Lib Dems in another recent by-election. But again, that was went unreported. But we should be very clear, very, very clear, that this has sent waves through the Tory party. Because now, most of these southern MPs who were literally sat in what were literally safe seats, all of a sudden, they're now having to ask the question, is my seat safe? Is it as safe, as it was, sold to me? Am I now looking at maybe the next election getting, losing it to the Lib Dems? These are now very real concerns that these new southern MPs are now having to ask. And we'll get back to these southern MPs in a moment. But the northern MPs, who were literally elected through, again, the promises of getting Brexit done and levelling up, again, two very, very hollow promises. Like I say, Brexit is far far from done. Trust me on that. Come October, we are going to start seeing checks at the border. Currently, we are facing a massive employment crisis in the logistics sector, which is causing huge problems. Not only in that sector, but in building, in banking down south as well. They are seeing, asset managers have moved at least over £100 billion of assets over to the EU. The legal and financial firms are currently in limbo because of Boris Johnson's government is not being allowed back into a very key EU treaty where essentially decisions here in the UK will be respected by those other countries. And we've already seen that a court in Switzerland has already overturned a decision made in a UK court, thus imperiling the entire legal and financial services of the city, something that it is known for, something which, again, the UK is 80% built on financial services. So again, something that incredibly worries his southern MPs, but his northern MPs don't really care about that. They're all about levelling up, so they want that money to come to the north. They want more jobs and industry, and we're begging Johnson, please, please, please say what you mean about levelling up. Tell us what levelling up means, because people are starting to ask us questions what levelling up means, and we can't just say, oh, we're going to level up, because eventually there comes the point of people will say, well, what exactly does that mean? What exactly are you going to, quote, level up? And so, of course, just last month, we got Boris Johnson coming out to do his big levelling up speech, which pretty much amounted to nothing. So now this has got some northern MPs very, very worried about retaining their seats, because Boris Johnson is not going to fulfill his promises on that. Not only that, but we've seen a lot of the MPs who are part of the COVID recovery group, who were very, very free market fundamentalists, who were very, very against not only locking down, but the furlough program itself, very virulently and violently pushing back against Johnson and his government for locking down, getting rid of restrictions completely, and trying to get back to normal as quickly as possible, regardless of the fact that the virus is still out there and that we should be taking precautions still about this. So there are, again, still extreme problems with his own party, and even they were very, very annoyed at Johnson. And now there is a new crisis coming, because, as we've said, going into 2020, how do we recover from the economic crisis that is not only COVID, but Brexit as well? You cannot do this without significant public funding. So, of course, you think that the northern MPs would be ecstatic about this. The problem is of course, his southern MPs are outraged by this, because they do not want to spend money. They are very, very fiscally conservative when they come to this. They hate spending money, full stop. They want to spend as little money as possible and reduce as much tax as possible. So you can see the fight that is going to be within the Tory party. And of course, as we've said before, this recovery, the only way we can really recover is by spending public money, getting the, investing in the UK. But austerity is coming down the line. Stuff that which his southern MPs are going to be very, very happy to back come the autumn budget, but his northern MPs are going to be very disgruntled about that fact. So straight away you can see that this split is huge. And at the moment, Liz Truss, the most, quote, popular member of the UK cabinet, which is absolutely laughable when you consider when we've covered most of her speeches and decisions that she has taken as international, the member for the international trade cabinet position. It's laughable. And we've got, again, those two big ideas of global Britain levelling up. And as we've said before, these two ideas cannot coexist, because if you go for the Global Britain agenda, it undermines the levelling up agenda. But if you go for the levelling up agenda, then it undermines the Global Britain agenda. These two agendas cannot coexist. And again, they are backed by that, the Global Britain by those southern MPs and the levelling up by those northern MPs. So there is going to be a colossal fight. And that's just in the parliamentary party. In the non-parliamentary party, the Conservative Party, remember all those people that Boris Johnson kicked out for not supporting him or not supporting his Brexit ideas? Well, it turns out they're pretty annoyed at Johnson, not only for his Brexit deal, but for the fact that, again, they got kicked out. So it seems, and that at least we are hearing rumbles, that they might very well come to cause trouble for Johnson. So this could turn out to be, as a lot of people are saying, a summer of discontent for Boris Johnson. And he could learn very quickly what it was like to be Theresa May, who had a party who was actively rebelling against him and refusing to march to his tune. And all this could happen very quickly. It could happen soon. Maybe it might be towards the end of the year as this plays out. But we will start to see this very soon. And these days where Boris Johnson seemed almost unassailable, almost untouchable, might seem very long time ago compared to when this actually happens. But it is, time is ticking, and this isn't a question of if it's going to happen, it is a question of when. The keys have been put in the ignition and the engines are just warming up, and some MPs are just literally waiting for the first sign to where they could potentially strike and start causing trouble for Johnson. So, as that is said, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And also down below there are links to my Patreon page, as well as one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.